is Mrs. Lund here, and today we're going to talk about copyright. Our goals for today are students will be able to explain copyright and why it is important. Students will be able to distinguish between copyright, Creative Commons, and public domain. And students will be able to apply their knowledge of copyright rules to scenarios of using the internet for research. So let's begin. First, did you guys know that you actually own the things that you create? Things you create are called intellectual property, and as the owner, you have the rights to how others use your work. You have the rights to say if others are allowed to do things like make copies, distribute copies, display or perform your work, or make derivatives or change your work. Now, we might be asking, why is this important? Well, creating things is difficult, and people are extremely proud of the work that they create and deserve credit for the hard work they put in. So, we have copyright laws that protect them. Copyright is a legal protection over intellectual property that you create. It protects original works that are tangible and in a fixed form. This means that it has to be something that we can perceive and a fixed form, meaning it's no longer changing. Some of the things that are covered by copyright are things like written work, computer softwares like computer codes, musical works, whether it is instrumental or with voices, dramatic works like plays, choreographed works, so dances, pictures, graphic designs, sculptures, audiovisual works, which would be like movies, sound recordings, and architectural works, so what buildings look like. Now, copyright doesn't cover everything. Copyright does not cover things like ideas, procedures, methods, processes, concepts, even facts, unless they are written or recorded descriptions. Then they are protected. But simple ideas in your head, not protected. Titles, names, short phrases, and slogans are also not protected under copyright, but they may be protected under trademark law, so we have to be careful with that one. Things that are subject to change, improvised performances. Remember we said that copyright has to be to be covered by copyright, it has to be in a fixed form. Improvised performances change. They're not in a fixed form, so they cannot be covered. Works that are commonly available and contain no originality. This one's interesting. Think like a calendar. A calendar is very common. We can find it easily, right? And if it has no originality added to it, so it's just the calendar, it is not protected under copyright. If you add your own designs to the calendar, your own pictures to the calendar, then it can be covered under copyright. And works by the U.S. government are not covered under copyright. Those are part of public domain, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So you might be asking yourself, so can I use anything? When can I use other people's material? Well, you need to ask yourself a couple of questions. Is it part of public domain? Are you paraphrasing and giving proper citations? And do you have the creator's permission? Public domain is creations that are free to use without asking permission first. You are allowed to copy, modify, distribute, and perform the work without notifying the original creator. You should still cite the creator when you are able to, just because it feels good to give credit where credit is due, right? Some things will be in public domain because the copyright law has ran out. Copyright only lasts about 70 years after the creator's death. So once that time has lapsed, the item will then be put into public domain. Authors can choose to put things into public domain. They want people to use their work to inspire new creativity. So they offer it up for public domain. Another thing is, like I said before, U.S. government materials are also part of public domain. Then we have Creative Commons. Creative Commons is an organization that helps creators share their works with others while still holding on to some of their rights. So copyright, you can have all of your rights protected. With Creative Commons, you can give some of your rights up while holding on to others. So in your research online, you might see a couple of these badges displayed by the things that you come across. CC is the Common Creatives badge. You'll notice that there's a little human in each of these, and it has by. That's us saying that the author or the creator is saying, yes, you may use my creation without asking me, but please give me credit. That sounds like a pretty fair thing to me. The little $ with NC means non-commercial. You cannot use their work for money. You can't sell their work, basically. ND with the little = means non-derivative, meaning that that person is asking, please do not change my work. You may use it, but please don't change it. And finally, the SA is the share-alike license. This one is saying, yes, you are allowed to make derivatives or change my work, but can you please have a same or similar license on it? We then have fair use. Fair use is using copyrighted works without permission, but it's in very specific situations, such as parody, criticism, news reporting, teaching, and research. This graphic by commonsense.org kind of explains when fair use is applicable, when the purpose of the new work is educational or the original work is transformed into something different, the amount used is only a small portion of the original work, and it does not include the heart of the work. The effect of the new work does not include any negative impact on the creator or the value of the original work. Think money. If you copy or use somebody's work and you are getting paid for that, you're taking money away from the original creator. That would not be okay. It would no longer fall under fair use. The nature of the work is nonfiction or based on fact rather than creative or fictional. So common examples of when fair use is okay: schoolwork and education, criticizing and commenting, news reporting, and comedy. And again, just because it's fair use does not mean that we aren't giving the author credit. We still need to cite our sources. It's just saying we don't need to necessarily reach out and get permission from the author. So how do we give credit to others? There are different ways of giving credit within your work. You can do a direct quote. This is using somebody's words exactly. It needs to be in quotation marks. The length of the quote, there's not a technically limit to the length. However, you want to try to keep it short. If you're quoting the entire book, then that's basically stealing the book. Paraphrasing or putting something in your own words. You still need to give credit to the source because you did not come up with the ideas. But by putting it in your own words, you can work it into your project. That's similar to summarizing or briefly describing something in your own words. Still needs to give credit to the source because once again, you did not come up with it. So give credit where credit is due. I keep saying citations. Citations are basically where you give credit to the author. There are many different ways you can give credit within your work. We have several different styles of how to do this. The Modern Language Association, or the MLA, is commonly used in language arts, cultural studies, and humanities. The American Psychological Association, or APA, is commonly used in education, psychology, and the sciences. And Chicago style is typically used in business, history, and fine arts. Now, you guys are going to be using this in your reading class, which would be considered language arts. So let's take a look at the MLA style. In-text citations are what goes within your paper or within your project. after you use information from a source. This picture from University of Pittsburgh shows what MLA in-text citations would look like. If you use the name of the author inside of your sentence, then you just put the page numbers. If you don't use the author's name, then you would put the author's last name and the page numbers within parentheses at the end. And if you have multiple, it shows it there how you would do that. Works cited is at the end of your paper or end of the project. It is an alphabetical listing of all of the resources you used. Here are a couple of examples of what your works cited would look like. Notice that for MLA, you're typically doing the last name of the author or the artist or the creator, comma, first name, period. The title of your book or image is going to be in italics. If it's a website or a YouTube, they'll be in quotation marks, period. Then you have your main website in italics. If that is from websites or YouTube, it has the date that it was originally placed and the URL. On books, we have the city of publication, publisher, and publication date. And on art, we find where the art is located, the name of the website that you got the picture from, and the URL. Copyright infringement or breaking copyright is plagiarism. It's using somebody else's intellectual property without asking and giving them credit. It is basically stealing, and it has consequences. You can have fines. You might be kicked out of school if you're in a higher education, such as a college. Stealing other people's work is never okay. It is always better to give credit where credit is due. And that's all of copyright. And just to show you guys throughout the presentation, I had my own citations on each of my slides, and I also have my works cited or my references here as well. Thank you.